Hello, it's Tom from Golden Goal here. Welcome to another FPL video. I'm a little bit bored during the international break, so thought I'd make a video just talking through my Game Week 9 Wildcard team, all the players in the team, the reason I've picked them, and some fixture analysis as well. So first up, I thought rather than show you my team straight away, I would go through some of the fixtures, highlight the key teams with some really nice fixture runs, talk through those, and then that should bring me nicely into explaining the team that I've actually finally picked. So first up, I'm going to show you a little graphic that was created by a fantastic member of the FPL community. I'm sure most people know who he is. Ben Krellin. He's a fixtures guru, and he has this really easy to use free spreadsheet that you can all look at on his Twitter account just to talk through the fixtures up until the World Cup. So that's Game Week 9 to Game Week 16. And then just trawling through these teams, I thought I'd bring to attention some teams with some really good fixture runs. And looking at the list of fixtures here, I mean, ones that stand out to me immediately are Bournemouth, Chelsea, Palace, Leicester and Fulham as well. I quite like that Fulham fixture run. Now, for me, of all those teams, I think most of them have proven fantasy football assets where we know enough about them to warrant picking them in the game. Whereas I think Bournemouth, maybe with the exception of Solanke, they don't really have anyone that stands out to me. We'll look at those runs individually now. So first up, we got Crystal Palace. So they admittedly do have quite a tough fixture in Game Week 9 against Chelsea, but then it really opens up into quite a nice run. So they got Leeds, Leicester, Wolves, Everton, Southampton, West Ham and Forest to take them up into the World Cup. Now, I think those are great fixtures, both offensively and defensively as well. So it certainly warrants that you could pick some Palace attacking assets as well as their defensive assets. For me, I think Palace probably have the best run of all teams. And next up, we got Leicester. In Game Week 9, they've got Forest, followed by Bournemouth, Palace, Leeds, Wolves, a tough fixture in 14 against City, and then 2 against Everton and West Ham to close them out to the World Cup. Now, again, I think bar that Man City game, that's an absolutely fantastic run. I'd just like to say with Leicester, really, there aren't too many players from their team that I would pick. I think their goalkeeper spot is an interesting one because they have 2 goalkeepers. We all know Ward and Iverson that are 4 million or below. So I certainly wouldn't rule out picking one of those. Defensively, I'm really not convinced on them. I don't think I'd be picking any defenders. Obviously, I'd only really pick the goalkeepers because of their price rather than the fact that I actually believe they'll get points. And then going forwards, Rodgers seems to be switching that team up quite a bit. I think Barnes and Maddison are the 2 most trustworthy assets in the starting attacking players to play regularly, as well as possibly Tielemans. But I don't think the Tielemans attacking stats are looking too good to the point where I'd want to pick him. I think Barnes and Maddison are probably the outstanding 2. And I mentioned them when I went through that grid, but I think Fulham, which we're looking at here, as well as Chelsea, that on paper, the fixture difficulty rating on FPL might not make their fixture runs look amazingly exciting, but I think I foresee them as games where, well, for Fulham, there's only a couple of players really, isn't there? There's Andres Pereira and Mitrovic. And you just think, could you foresee Mitrovic scoring in all of these games? And my answer to that question is yes. I mean, Newcastle at home, Newcastle are pretty solid, but away from home, their defence seems to drop a little bit. And they have been conceding goals this year as well. So do you fancy Mitrovic to score against Liverpool? Yes. Could he score against West Ham? Yes. And then he's got Bournemouth, Villa, Leeds and Everton in 4. I mean, pretty tremendous fixtures, really. And, well, most of them being at home as well. You'd really expect Mitrovic to come out of those games pretty well. A tough game against City. But again, I think Mitrovic has proven that he's one of the few players in the league that are almost impossible to mark. He just seems so strong and powerful in the air that I don't even see really City and United defenders being able to deal with him particularly well. So he just looks so dangerous, and I wouldn't rule him out scoring in all of those games. But I thought, as well as obviously Mitrovic being very good in most fixtures, it's also a really good fixture run, which warrants you still picking like the likes of Andreas Pereira as well. And then finally, just on the fixtures talk, we've got Chelsea. Again, similar to Fulham, their like fixture difficulty ratings on FPL sort of, in my view, sort of tell almost a false story about the fixtures, because a lot of them are graded as 3, but honestly, I think it's a really nice run. So Palace away, Wolves, Aston Villa, Brentford, United, Brighton, Arsenal and Newcastle. Obviously, the United and Arsenal games are probably the two most difficult there, but they're both at home for Chelsea. And yeah, I still see like the likes of Sterling. He can score. Reece James, he could keep clean sheets in those games. Equally, he can get some attacking returns, and I do foresee Chelsea having a bit of a bounce back under Potter as well. Just in my mind, I think Tuchel may have lost the dressing room a little bit towards his sacking, because they just didn't look like a proper team under him. They were miles away from that Chelsea squad that won the Champions League, and to be completely honest, there weren't many players from that Champions League winning team that aren't in this one. So yeah, I do think Chelsea are going to bounce back, and I do think that's a really nice fixture run. So hopefully that gives you an idea of where my mind is with picking my wildcard team, which you can see on the screen now. So in goal, I've gone for Guaita and Ward. My thinking is Game Week 9 is going to be a tough fixture for my goalkeepers. Obviously, Guaita's got Chelsea, and Ward, to be honest, I couldn't tell you. I have to go back to the fixtures. Ward has got Forest at home. So can you believe I'm making a case to start Ward? But against Forest at home, you could conceivably do that. Same with Guaita against Chelsea, and just hope for some saves bonus, really. But really, I'm picking my goalkeeper for the long term. Guaita, I foresee, is the goalkeeper with the best defensive fixtures going forward. So Guaita will be my first choice keeper on the main, with Ward to back him up when I need to. The one thing that I would say about Guaita is that obviously Sam Johnston is he the number 2? It's interesting to see how that dynamic will work out, because I'm still not convinced that Sam Johnston would have signed a contract at Palace just to accept being second fiddle. So I do think that Johnston will play some football. Whether that's replacing Guaita in the Premier League before the World Cup, who knows? But my thinking is they're also both the same price. So if needs be, you can swap between the two, or just take Guaita out entirely for a new keeper if his play time becomes too doubtful. But I think to start with, you've got to go Guaita because of that just amazing fixture run, and really try and take advantage of the fact that you have free reign to choose a player from Game Week 9. I think Guaita is the one. Then I've got Reece James. I think I mainly talked about him when I went through the Chelsea fixtures, but yeah, he's a proven FPL commodity. We know his attacking output potential, and like I said, I do see a Chelsea sort of resurgence under Graham Potter. I think he's had not a bit of time to work with them because they've had an international break, but he's had a bit of time to sit with Chelsea now, figure out how he wants to play, and he'll have some time to put that across to the team. So yeah, I still like Reece James, and I think FPL, in my opinion, didn't necessarily get their pricing right this season. And if last season's points potential was anything to go by, Reece James should be priced a lot higher than he was. So I still think at 6 million, you've got to go for him. Guehi, I don't think there's too much to say to him above and beyond Guaita. His price is just fantastic. He dropped again to 4.3 million. I can't quite work out why people were selling him to make him drop that low with that Palace fixture run. But in my opinion, of the 4.5 and below defenders, he's probably the best now. He's got a really good run of fixtures, and I can't remember exactly how many goals he scored last season, but he did knock in a few goals from corners and set pieces. He is a threat in the air as well, so I think that's even more reason to go for him, really. Comparing him to, obviously Patterson was, up until his injury for Scotland, was probably touted as the best. Now he's injured. Nico Williams is a perfectly reasonable shout, but I just don't see Forest keeping many clean sheets. They just don't look very solid defensively. So for that reason, I've gone for Guehi. I'm going to quickly go through the rest of the three. So Cancelo, Trippier, and Trent. I don't think Cancelo and Trippier need too much introduction, really. I think everyone knows Man City are statistically the best defence in the league this season. Cancelo is the most nailed, in my opinion, of all the defenders, and he also has the most attacking upside. So you can pretty much guarantee that he'll play every game for City, and yeah, he's the best attacking asset from that from the list of defenders, if that makes sense. Then I've got Trippier. Again, I remember I mentioned in the fixture list that they have been conceding goals of Newcastle, but from my perspective, I just think around that price, Trippier is the best pick. He's on all of the set pieces. His free kicks look absolutely ridiculous. I mean, even when he doesn't score with them, he's either like hitting the post or they're like an inch wide. He's really been working on his free kicks. So yeah, I think in pretty much any game he plays, he could come up with either a goal or an assist from set pieces. And then we do obviously know that Newcastle, they do have it in them to keep clean sheets against some good teams. So for that reason, he's in. And then finally, I'm not sure how popular Trent will be in other people's wildcard teams, but I just think with the international break, Thiago coming back, Matip I think has returned from injury now as well. I just think that will shore up Liverpool a little bit and really help make them a bit more solid defensively. And Trent, for me, he's built up enough credit in the bank with previous seasons' performances in FPL. I just think he's obviously the most expensive defender in the game, but I think that's because he's the best defender in the game. He's got the most attacking upside of any defender in the game, which means if he doesn't keep clean sheets, he still has the biggest chance of getting some attacking returns. So I can't rule out picking Trent. And the beauty is on the wild card as well, Trent is the most expensive defender in the game, and if you start with him, it means that you can get, if he doesn't perform very well, it means you can go down to someone else. Whereas if you start with someone else and Trent starts doing amazingly well and you need to buy him, you're probably going to have started with someone significantly cheaper, which means it's a 2 transfer sort of situation to bring Trent back in. And I just don't want to be in that position. I think you're better off starting with him. And then if he doesn't play very well, you can take him out. And then in my midfield, Martinelli, I think he's proven himself so far this season that he's probably the best midfielder for that price. And he's also worth 6.6 million now, I think. And obviously you can see there his value in my team is 6.3 because I had him from the start of the season. So I can't really justify selling Martinelli because I'll lose 0.3 million, which just feels too significant. I know he has the blank against Man City in that game week, but yeah, I'm going to stick with him. And I'll probably just bench him for the week that he plays City. Next up, Zaha. Already spoken about the Palace run. We know how good that is, and Zaha has been the outstanding attacking asset from Palace. I think his underlying numbers are up there genuinely up there with Salah. He's been that good to start the season, and he's on penalties as well. So, yeah, it suggests to me he's going to be a good pick for that run. Even in that first fixture for Chelsea, like I said, I think I've picked Reece James, so I'm sort of contradicting myself a little bit here. But I do foresee that Palace could score against Chelsea. I mean, all that Zaha needs is a penalty. So, yeah, I just think there's enough upside in Zaha to start him against Chelsea and be pretty happy with your selection. And then I've gone for Salah. Again, I think similar to Trent, really. He's built up enough credit in the bank for me to be a pick. His underlying numbers are still really good. He's obviously not quite up there with Haaland, who's just been exceptional. But I think he's been good enough to justify picking him. And I think in game week 9, Salah has got Brighton and Haaland's got United. And I think if the two fixtures compared to one another, Liverpool-Brighton is probably better. And I will probably captain Haaland in 9. Andreas, I think I covered him when I went through the Fulham fixtures. But yeah, I think he's got a really nice run and he's just there on your bench if you ever need him. Maddison, already spoke through those Leicester fixtures as well. In a previous video I made, I showed that Maddison's underlying numbers weren't amazing, but I just think you can't ignore the fixtures that he's got. And he is, in my opinion, the most nailed of like the Leicester attacking assets. I wouldn't really touch them defensively, but I think going forward they've at least proved that they can still score goals, which makes Maddison, in my opinion, still a really good pick. And then I've got a front three of Mitrovic, Haaland and Archer. Again, similarly, I spoke through the Fulham fixtures before, and in my head I could just see Mitrovic scoring in every single one of them. He just looks... I know he didn't score just before the international break. I think he scored a hat-trick for Serbia during the international break. There is a little bit of doubt around him. I think he either came off with a knock or had a knock that he reported after the game finished. But he seems to want to play through that for Serbia. So just one to monitor there. It could well be that he's ruled out. But I'd expect to know ahead of game week 9 if Mitrovic was ruled out. But for now, he's in my team, and I expect him to start. And yeah, I expect him to do really well as well. That's a really nice fixture run he's got, and yeah, hopefully he can continue that form into club playing up until the World Cup. Final two, Haaland, the absolute outstanding player in FPL this season. I see no reason to take him out of my team just yet. I think for the Arsenal blank, so yeah, he has Liverpool and then Arsenal. The blank game week. I think for that Liverpool fixture that he has coming up, I might well take him out for Kane, because Kane seems to be an outstanding captain over that period. But to start with, Haaland's got to be in my team. And I think similarly to Martinelli, I've got quite a lot of value built up in him now. And if I were to sell him to bring him back, I'd probably lose about 0.5 million. I think he might be up to 12 million now when I bought him for 11.5 at the start. So yeah, I can't really justify selling him. And then finally, you could pick any of the bench fodder strikers. I had Archer in my team at the start of the season. I think just because people thought he'd get the most minutes of all of them. I think Greenwood's the most picks. It's the 4.5 million and below striker you're never really going to play. So yeah, I don't really care who I pick in that position. But yeah, hopefully that's a nice little overview of my Game Week 9 wildcard team. If you enjoyed what you saw, leave a like rating on the video and subscribe to the Golden Goal channel, because I'll try and pump out as much FPL content as I can up until the World Cup. So, thanks, and I'll see you later.